Greetings, kindred spirits, and a big welcome to the new subscribers to my channel. Well, I hope you've all reached the other side of the Lionsgate portal still intact. I have to say it was one of the most intense Lionsgate portals I have ever experienced. Actually, I was doing quite well up until around the 12th of August. And then I started to feel a great sense of unease in my solar plexus, like a churning. I lost my appetite, although I felt hungry. But I just couldn't put my finger on what I wanted to eat to satisfy that deep craving, that I was feeling. And I felt a little bit empty and a little bit disorientated. So I looked at it and I realised that it was the integration that was taking place, of all the activations and all the codes that were coming in and have been with me personally since April of this year. So instead of raiding my cupboards and my fridge, I just did a whole heap of press-ups. Actually, I have been trying to get motivated for quite a while now to exercise my body because I just haven't had the energy or the motivation to do that over the last few years. I guess I've been more in my head and feeling a little bit disconnected from my body, due to all the changes and spiritual growth that I've been going through personally over the last 3 years. Actually, it feels like I've just come back down to earth. So, hi guys, I think I'm back. And I know I'm probably not the only one who's been experiencing this, because I feel that many of us have been in that place of being neither here nor there. So I definitely feel that something has shifted throughout this Lionsgate portal, like there's been a massive reality check or a recognition of just what it is we need to satiate when it comes to our soul or our sense of well-being. I'd also like to thank those of you that have been sending me your feedback. I've been getting feedback from 2016 and it's been fantastic for me, And also to those of you that have been supporting my work, it has truly been very uplifting and encouraging for me to continue on this path with 13 Star Sign Astrology. And seeing the community grow has also been very inspiring too. So please do continue to send me your feedback. And please do continue to like and share my posts. So the full moon will reach its peak in Capricorn on the 15th of August at 13:29 in the GMT time zone, at 8:29 in the EDT time zone, and at 22:29 in the AEDT time zone. The moon in Capricorn is all about needing structure in our lives, as well as self-discipline, inner security and self-confidence. The Lionsgate portal has definitely left many of us feeling a little bit fragile, empty or detached. Maybe even all three for some. But with our moon in opposition to the Sun, Venus, Mars and Juno, shows that there is definitely a need for balance within ourselves and in our lives, especially when it comes to our relationships, whether they be business or personal. But I do feel that it's mostly to do with our personal relationships or our intimate relationships. So issues around our own personal needs would have surfaced throughout the Lionsgate, where we have and probably still are being forced to take our own needs into consideration before the needs of others. And normally, for those of us that have found ourselves having to do this, we could be feeling a little bit guilty or selfish for pulling back our energy from those that have come to depend on us. Some may have had to detach from their feelings to do this. So it's now time for us to bring our hearts and minds back into balance. But also in saying that, many of us may have been left feeling unfulfilled or lonely in a sense, where we have yearned for comfort and that physical touch. For those of us that are alone or are in separation from our loved ones. Whatever the case, there has been a great realization of just what we need in our lives and exactly what we don't need. The thing is, the more we satiate others' needs is the more dependent they become on us, which isn't healthy for them either, because we are in a time where it's so important that we learn to stand on our own 2 feet. And those that do have tendencies towards codependency do need to start their process of self-empowerment for the sake of their own futures. Of course, that doesn't mean that we should just abandon people necessarily, but in some cases it may entail that. Especially if that person is adamant in demanding our attention. We are not helping them by jumping to their rescue all the time. Actually, we are only helping them to avoid their own awakening process. And just to add to that, anyone we do need to let go of, regardless of how that has to be done, we should still continue to hold space and love for them unconditionally. And maybe send them distant healing if we are in that place where we are able to do that. Or keep that in mind at a later date once we have moved on from that relationship breakdown. It depends on how we're feeling. Some people are walking away and not really feeling a way about it. It's like they've come to the end of it and it's just enough is enough and there's nothing more I can do. And they can move on and feel quite comfortable with that. They know that they've walked away and know that they've done their best. Whereas others may be sitting there wondering if they've done the right thing or not. So just watch out for that. Concentration may be difficult as well this full moon, especially since the full moon brings to light what we need to let go of or move on from. So in a way, this full moon is a continuation of the releasing process that has come to light throughout the Lionsgate portal. For most of us, it's all about integrating the downloads and activations that the Lionsgate has brought in, whilst for others it's about letting go of what no longer resonates with them on a soul level. So rest as much as possible throughout the rest of this month, because the energies will pick up again at the beginning of September. My crows are going crazy outside, can you hear them? So yeah, the energies will pick up again at the beginning of September, and they are likely to be a bit chaotic. So make the most of the time we have to get prepared and absorb what needs to be integrated. The one good thing is that we will not be going back to that stuck energy that we've been feeling for quite a while now. As a matter of fact, although it will be a bit chaotic, the coming cycle will be quite refreshing too, as we step up a level on our ascension process. So some of us will actually become really busy on our paths, putting into effect all those realizations, recognitions, or aha moments that we've been receiving, not just through the Lionsgate portal, but throughout the last year or so. The urge will be to work very hard this full moon, because when we get a powerful boost like we just had, it is our natural instinct to want to push forward. But it would be wise for us to rest or continue to clear out old habits, emotions, situations, or people over the next 2 weeks. Because like I said, things are about to get quite erratic throughout the rest of this year, going into next year. We've got quite a few more shifts to come up, but it's not going to be that stuck energy. Although we've got, Pluto, Saturn and Uranus in retrograde as well as Neptune. So there is still a little bit more inner reflection that needs to still continue. But, September, October is when Saturn and Pluto come out of retrograde. I think Saturn comes out in September, Pluto October. But Neptune and Uranus will still be in retrograde. Uranus will be in retrograde until around about January time. As well as our moon being in opposition to our Sun, Venus, Mars and Juno, they are all in square to the goddess Vesta, forming another T-square. So this is just an emphasis on the need that many of us will get into a routine. That feeling like, oh no, I must get it together. Although emotionally we do still need to balance and integrate the energies of the past year. And it will be well worth our while if we do stop and listen to what the universe is trying to tell us here, which is that our own well-being is of vital importance at this time. And we would serve ourselves better to allow the energy process to finish its work. So meditation, deep breathing techniques and lots of rest will help the process to integrate a lot quicker than if we resist it. We must continue to work on our self-esteem and self-love, even for those of us that are familiar with doing that. We still need to work on it because our auras have been quite shocked with that tremendous energy that has just come in, especially since there was a Yod and a Black Moon Lilith opposition firing right into the Lionsgate portal, which really was intense for some and shattering for others, So it was major energy. We are in a time also where we are preparing for soul merging or a soul awakening, where further sacred unions and Kundalini awakenings will be taking place over the next year or so. And it is so important that we are in tune to our divine feminine energy, which is that place of strength and self-power. So we can claim, reclaim or empower our own individual sovereignty and independence, regardless of what relationship we happen to be in. Because Saturn and Pluto and the South Nodes have been working throughout this year on clearing out karmic patterns that have kept us stuck in cycles of unwanted obligations or codependency, as well as healing our ancestry lines. And much work has been done by many. Unconditional love isn't an easy thing to master, and even when we do, we still have to continue to work on it to keep it going, because we're always being tested. We also have we have a grand water trine which has been in effect throughout the Lionsgate portal. Actually, it appeared just beforehand. So many of us have been through quite an emotional time in one way or another. For some, it has been a time of acceptance, acceptance of our life circumstances and understanding that we are where we need to be right now. And also an acceptance of the self and the need to step into our own self-power. Whilst for others, it has been about picking up on the collective's energy, because our psychic sensitives in that respect have been off the scale. So whilst for some there has been a need to get back in touch with their emotions, for others it could be a case of detaching from theirs and getting more into their consciousness, into their heads and tuning into their own individuality. There's also been a further grieving process for those of us that have lost loved ones as well recently. So, that may have resurfaced throughout the Lionsgate as well. Uranus went retrograde during the Lionsgate portal and Jupiter went direct just the day before. So again, there is that push-pull energy. We may think or feel like we should be moving forward, but I'm not quite there yet with our energy levels. So once again, I recommend that we all just rest as much as possible. Although Uranus is going to stir up a bit of agitation in Aries, there will be a further breaking free of barriers, more likely barriers that are within ourselves. And also, Uranus retrograding through Aries can cause us to feel a little bit disconnected or discontented, although we may not understand why we feel that way. What it is with this transit is that it's further pushing us into alignment with our sovereignty. So we must be patient with ourselves, because the process can seem a little bit repetitive. But this repetitiveness is only occurring if we are not in alignment to our authentic selves. That's for some, whilst for others, again, it's about adapting to the major changes that have just occurred, either within our inner world or, the changes that have occurred within our outer world, more so to do with our relationships. Sometimes we can lose ourselves in others, and when we have broken bonds with them, feel a little bit lost in our own identity. So again, this will be a part of the next cycle that we are entering into, getting back in touch with our own desires, our own needs, and our own identity, our self-power. So wishing you all peace and much love.